In this video we're going to go from this to this. Okay, so this is going to be hopefully a short video. I keep putting this off because it's a really awkward weld. The metal is really thin, there's a few pinholes as well. And I've got to make sure this out of all welds is absolutely flush because this is where the window fits. So if I don't get this perfectly flush, it's going to show like a sore thumb. So in this video I'm going to do all of this and nothing else, and I'm just going to show how I'm going to clean up the weld, cut it out with cardboard I think, and then hopefully cut another piece and weld it nice and neat. The only issue I've got is that this is really thin steel, and the steel I've got is 2mm thick. But I want it to be thick because there's actually a hole that has to end up here anyway, which is where the window clips into as well. So I'm not keen on putting thin steel. So I'm going to go with the thicker steel anyway. Yeah, let's give it a go. Okay, so we're almost there. So I've got a little nook here, I'm not too worried about that. Bit of a divot there if you'd like, not too worried about that. That's nice and almost flush, not 100%. I just need to try and fit it in properly. So what I've got to do now is just take this bit of corner off. One thing you'll see is that I'm taking small amounts off, checking, small amounts off and checking. You don't want to go too far because you will ruin it. It's very easy to do as well. Also, one thing you notice is I'm not grinding at an angle, I'm grinding flat on. If I grind at an angle, it's going to be sharp, it's going to be very, very thin. So when I come to weld, it's going to be even harder. Okay, so that's close enough for now. There's a bit of a gap there, like I said. Can't do much about that. Tiny bit of a gap there, but that's sufficient. All I need to do now is just push my hand in. Well, I've got to clean all this first. You'd never ever want to weld on a dirty surface, trust me. I've learned the hard way. So the next thing is clean all this up. Clean this bit up from both sides. Clean this up as well. But be careful not to take too much material off. And then go on the inside and try and push this flush. And then we're going to start tack welding it. Okay, so I've just ground a bit there just for my earth clamp for the welder. Put that in there, nice and clean. Not as good as I'd like, to be fair, but that's the best we can do. Nice and smooth. Just to say a quick thanks to my friend Odd Job Joe, who recommended these neodyme magnets. They're really, really good, so strong, and they're perfect for this kind of job. Okay, so I'll show you what I've done with the welder. So, the welder's going to be quite straightforward. Clip down there, move it around a bit, make sure it's a good connection. We're going to turn the welder on, obviously, and I'm going to set the wire speed to, I think, 3.5 on this, and I've got them both set to 1. This is a Clark Mig Welder 135 TE Turbo, and I'm going to set the gas on this to 3.5 litres per minute. In fact, I'm going to go to 4 litres per minute because it's really thin. So trick with the gas is when you set it to 4 litres per minute, press the gas and just make sure it stays stable, because it always drops a little bit. Okay, and I've got 0.8 mild steel wire as well. So it's 0.8 mild steel wire, 4 litres per minute, and I've got this welder set to 1 and 1 and 3.5 on the wire speed. Okay, so what I've done is, this is why it's going to be really clean. So you don't want too much black around the weld, which means it's going to be contaminated. So I've got the wire literally barely sticking out. Normally I'd go for a longer core, but I want to make sure I get gas coverage as well. So all I'm doing is putting the shroud as close as I can to the steel to make sure the gas coverage is there, and just going zap and off, and that's it. You don't want to go in a straight line because you can warp the metal really easily. So all I'll do is I'll do a couple of tacks, I'll move the magnets and get rid of the magnets. This is going to be the hardest part. Okay, so that's tack welded in place, so it's blowing through in a few different areas, and I'm pretty sure it's going to blow through there as well, just so thin. So what I'm going to do is, I've done a couple of welds, I'm going to clean her again, a couple of welds and clean her again, but I'm just going to use a, I don't want to keep using the sandpaper because you'll go through the metal. So all I'll do now is use a wire brush and just rough it up with a wire brush. Okay, so normally what you can do is, to stop it blowing through, you can put a piece of brass behind, but the problem is I can't reach behind. I may be able to, but not with gloves on. Perfect. I've just found 2 new flap discs. So the reason I like flap discs is because they're just like sandpaper, but the flap discs stick out a bit more, so you can actually use them to get into the corners. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I've sanded it all, but I've got 3 pinholes and one there as well. So that will cover with filler, it's not a problem, but obviously it's a main point of ingress for water as well. Even though it'll drain through the bottom, I just want to avoid the chance as much as possible. Okay, so I'm really happy with that actually. So all I'll do now is I'll spray with edge primer, but I'm going to try and spray, don't think I can, but I've sprayed the inside already. But because I've welded, I want to try and spray a bit more inside as well if I can. So I'll give it a generous coat. Let's see. No chance. Actually, I might be able to go this way. Okay guys, that's it for today. What I'll do soon, I'll do it off camera, but what I'll do is I'll just put a very, very fine film, if you like, or filler on it, sand it down, just to make it look good. It's not going to make a difference, it's not going to leak now, it's solid, but just to make it look good, so when I paint it, it doesn't annoy me, essentially. But that's the best you can do, because here's really, really thin. You've got to be very careful. The worst thing you could possibly do is weld it, and then when you're grinding, you thin the metal all around, because then you've got to start all over again, cut a bigger piece, till you get to solid metal, and you don't want to go on in this area as much as possible. See you on the next one.